At first, it felt like a small, almost laughable mistake. The kind that happens in busy places when lives overlap for a second and then move on. But for Andrew Miller, that moment would quietly crack open a truth he had been avoiding for years. As he stood frozen in the crowded restaurant, watching his coworker sit at a table meant for him, a strange unease crept into his chest. He didn't know it yet, but within minutes his entire understanding of family, belonging, and love was about to change. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that life can surprise us when we least expect it, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories like this one. Andrew was a single father in his late 30s, living in a modest town outside Columbus, Ohio. His life revolved around routines built for survival rather than joy. Mornings began before sunrise, preparing breakfast and packing lunches for his 8-year-old daughter, Sophie. Evenings ended with exhausted silence once she fell asleep on the couch beside him. Since losing his wife years ago, Andrew had learned how to function but not how to feel. Work at the logistics firm downtown was his anchor, a place where emotions were replaced by schedules, reports, and deadlines. Rachel Thompson worked in the same department. She was efficient, thoughtful, and quietly kind, the kind of person who remembered birthdays and brought extra coffee without being asked. Andrew noticed her in the way people notice sunlight through a window, aware of it but too busy to step closer. They exchanged polite smiles, occasional emails, and brief conversations in hallways. Nothing more, or so he believed. That evening, Andrew had agreed to meet a client at a family-style restaurant near the office. It was a rare attempt at networking, something his manager insisted would help his career. He arrived early, feeling out of place among laughing families and couples sharing plates. As he scanned the room, he noticed Rachel sitting at a small corner table, reviewing papers. Confused, Andrew assumed she had mistaken the reservation. He hesitated, unsure whether to interrupt, when she suddenly looked up and met his eyes. Something in her expression wasn't embarrassment or confusion. It was calm, almost familiar. As Andrew approached, his thoughts raced. Maybe the restaurant double-booked. Maybe she was meeting someone else. But when he reached the table, he noticed a small folded card placed neatly beside her water glass. His name was written on it. The realization hit him slowly, like a wave pulling him under. This table wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. Rachel explained that she had arranged the meeting after learning his client had canceled. She knew he rarely did anything for himself and thought a quiet dinner might be good for him. It wasn't romantic in design, just thoughtful. But for Andrew, it felt like standing on unfamiliar ground. No one had planned anything for him in years. No one had seen him beyond a tired single dad who rushed out of the office every afternoon. As they sat together, the noise of the restaurant faded into the background. Rachel spoke about her own life, growing up in Michigan, moving to Ohio for work, and learning how loneliness can exist even in crowded rooms. Andrew found himself opening up, sharing stories about Sophie, about grief, and about the fear of letting anyone get too close again. The words came easier than he expected, as if he had been holding them in for too long. Over the following weeks, their connection deepened in quiet, steady ways. They shared lunch breaks, exchanged messages about work and life, and slowly built trust. Rachel never rushed him. She understood that Andrew carried invisible weight, and she met him where he was. For the first time since his wife's passing, Andrew felt seen not as someone broken, but as someone still becoming. The real turning point came one rainy afternoon when Sophie fell ill at school. Andrew panicked, stuck in traffic and overwhelmed with guilt. Without hesitation, Rachel offered to pick Sophie up and stay with her until he arrived. When Andrew walked into his apartment later that day, he found Sophie resting peacefully on the couch, Rachel quietly cleaning up the kitchen. The sight filled him with an emotion he couldn't name, something between gratitude and hope. That night, after Sophie fell asleep, Andrew realized the truth he had been circling for weeks. Rachel wasn't just a coworker. She wasn't just someone kind who happened to care. She had become part of his life in a way that felt natural and safe. The table at the restaurant hadn't been wrong at all. It had been exactly where he was meant to sit. As months passed, Andrew's world slowly changed. He laughed more. Sophie smiled brighter. Their home felt warmer, not because everything was perfect, but because it was shared. Rachel never tried to replace what Andrew had lost. Instead, she honored it, building something new alongside it. If this story is touching your heart so far, take a moment to engage with the video. Your likes, comments, and shares help stories like this reach people who may need hope right now. One evening, nearly a year after that dinner, Andrew returned to the same restaurant. This time, Sophie sat between him and Rachel, happily coloring on a paper placemat. Andrew looked around the room and felt a quiet peace settle over him. Life hadn't erased his pain, but it had taught him how to carry it with love. Just before the ending, we'd love to hear from you. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or tell us about a moment when life surprised you in a beautiful way. Andrew once believed that mistakes defined his life, that wrong turns and losses were all he had left. But that night, sitting at the right table with the right people, he understood something profound. Sometimes what looks like a mistake is actually an invitation to heal, to trust again, and to realize that love can find us when we're not even looking. And for Andrew, that realization changed everything.